Okay, no problem. So whenever there is some, we create something, we get attached, to enjoy it or to control it. But Lord is very detached. He just gives the uh, fruits of the living entities, means the karmic reactions. Somebody does piety, he gives them piety. Somebody does something wrong, then he gives them the sinful reaction. So he, with complete detachment, he executes the law of karma. So the inequality seen in the creation and maintenance does not contaminate me with the quality of injustice. Lord does not objectively become compassionate, and if somebody, oh, he's suffering more, so he should not be punished so much. Like that, Lord does not do. Or oh, this living entity is good, so I will give him more. So that also Lord does not do. He exactly follows the law of karma. Yeah, I can read the purport.
One should not think in this connection that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no engagement. In his spiritual world, he is always engaged. In the Brahma Samhita 5.6, it is stated, Atma Ramasya Tasyati Prakritya Na Samagama. He is always involved in his eternal blissful spiritual activities, but he has nothing to do with these material activities. Material activities are being carried on by his different potencies. The Lord is always neutral in the material activities of the created world. The neutrality is mentioned here with the word udasinavat. Although he has control over every minute detail of material activities, he is sitting as if neutral. The example can be given of a high court judge sitting on his bench. By his order, so many things are happening. Someone is being hanged, someone is being put into jail, someone is awarded a huge amount of wealth, but still he is neutral. He has nothing to do with all the gain and loss. Similarly, the Lord is always neutral, although he has his hand in every sphere of activity. In the Vedanta Sutra 2134, it is stated, Vaisamya Nairgranye na. Nairgranye na. He is not situated in the dualities of this material world. He is transcendental to these dualities, nor is he attached to the creation and annihilation of this material world. The living entities take their different forms in the various species of life according to their past deeds, and the Lord doesn't interfere with them.
Yeah. So if you see, uh, so a judge, a an ideal judge, so he's not affected if somebody sues a person by making, because of making some social media comment, and he has to pay a huge fine to the victim. The judge is not affected. No, oh, this victim is gaining so much wealth, and no, this person is losing so much wealth. He's not affected because that is the righteous thing to do. He has done wrong, so he has to undergo the punishment, and he has suffered, so he has to be compensated. Uh, and the Lord is also not worried, oh, this person is becoming a billionaire and this person is remaining a pauper. That is their karma. The Lord is not personally get involved in those things. So we see, like in the recent case. So even that's what, like, the only Lord can be that much impartial. It's very difficult. Even in this world, we see the cases like sometimes the high court judges also, they get the court judges also, they take bribes, and they give some, they become partial. So that may happen, but only Lord can be truly impartial, because Lord is completely pure. He's not affected by the modes of material nature. So that's why Lord can only be like this. And Lord is always engaged in the spirit, in the activities of the spiritual world, in reciprocating love with his devotees in the spiritual world. So So it's not like Lord is living like a stone. The Lord is full of rasa, and that all rasa is happening in the spiritual world. And with the material world, he is completely detached because he is completely pure and he is not affected by the modes of material nature. Now, further, Krishna is telling about Prakriti. Maya adhyakshena Prakriti suyate sacharacharam.
मयाध्यक्षेण प्रकृति सूयते सचराचरम्
हेतुनानेन कान्तेय जगत् विपरिवर्तते.
हेतुनानेन कौन्तेय जगद्विपरिवर्तते.
The translation: This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction. O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Like Prakriti is doing it, but again it is acting uh, as per the direction of Krishna. Means only Krishna is only creating has created the system of karma. Like only by Krishna's glance, Prakriti gets activated. Otherwise, the time factor remains inert. So as soon as Krishna glances on it, the creation starts. So similarly, like if you see the judge, if you take example of judiciary system, it appears like everything is happening automatically, everything. The judge is no giving judgments and all. But there is behind the judge, there is a government which created this IPC system, Indian Penal Code, and all the judiciary system organized everything, High Court, Supreme Court, all these things, and the Civil Court, Criminal Court, all these things the government has done. So similarly, this whole system, the system of karma, it is all created by Krishna. And based on that direction, Prakriti is active. Yeah. You can read the purport.
It is clearly stated here that the Supreme Lord, although aloof from all the activities of the material world, remains the Supreme Director. The Supreme Lord is the Supreme Will and the background of this material manifestation, but the management is being conducted by material nature. Krishna also states in Bhagavad Gita that all the living entities in different forms and species, I am the Father. The father gives seed to the womb of the mother for the child, and similarly, the Supreme Lord, by his mere glance, injects all the living entities into the womb of material nature, and they come out in their different forms and species, according to their last desires and activities. All these living entities, although born under the glance of the Supreme Lord, take their different bodies according to their past deeds and desires. So the Lord is not directly attached to this material creation. He simply glances over material nature. Material nature is thus activated and everything is created immediately. Because he glances over material nature, there is undoubtedly activity on the part of the Supreme Lord. But he has nothing to do with the manifestation of the material world directly. This example is given in the Smriti. When there is a fragrant flower before someone, the fragrance is touched by the smelling power of the person. Yet the smelling and the flower are detached from one another. There is a similar connection between the material world and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, he has nothing to do with this material world, but he creates by his glance and ordinance. In summary, material nature without the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot do anything. Yet, the Supreme Personality is detached from all material activities.
Yeah. Yeah. So this last two lines is like the summary of the section. And again, like this section is given to invoke devotion, appreciation towards the Lord. Like uh, if you see any relationship, there is always some kind of partiality. A parent may be partial towards a particular sibling, uh, towards a particular children. If there are multiple children, then he may be partial to a particular children. A teacher may be partial to a particular student. So a politician may be favorable to a particular businessman. So like this, if we see any kind of relationship or any there is always some kind of partiality owing to some material desire. So that's why Lord is only impartial because he is unaffected by the material modes. So that's why, uh, and even a living entity also, even the living entity may be pure, may be perfect also, but because of limitations, he cannot act impartially. Like someone may like uh, a pure devotee may love many other all the devotees, but because of limitations, he cannot reciprocate in the same way with all the devotees equally. So, but Lord can do that. So that's why it is an amazing characteristic of Lord. And Lord is again, he is creating the entire creation and is maintaining, destroying, no, throughout the time, throughout from time immemorial, he's doing it, and he's doing it effortlessly. So that is again another wonderful characteristic of Lord. Now, from the next section, we Krishna describes who don't worship him. Though Krishna is so amazing, but still there are people who don't worship him. So why they don't worship, that Lord is saying? Because of misunderstanding. They misunderstand him as a human being. That only Krishna has explained. Avajananti mamoda manushim tanumashritam
अवजानन्ति मा मूढा मानुषीं तनुमाश्रितम्
param bhavamajananto mama bhutamaheeshwaram.
परं भावमजानन्तो मम भूतमहेश्वरम्
So the reason is param bhavam ajananto. They don't understand my spiritual nature. Fools deride me when I descend in this human form. They don't know my transcendental nature as the supreme Lord of all that be. So here, this verse is saying, describing the type of misunderstanding, but not the reason for the misunderstanding. Why people actually misunderstand? So, what is that misunderstanding is people see Krishna as a human being. That is the misunderstanding. But what is the reason of the misunderstanding is Dushkruti. So, that we have discussed in the seventh chapter. The Muda, Naradama, Maya Pahruta Jnana, and Ashurim Bhava Mashita. So, that is the Dushkruti because they are captured by the modes of material nature. Okay, you can read the purpose.
From the other explanations of the previous verses in this chapter, it is clear that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although appearing like a human being, is not a common man. The Personality of Godhead, who conduct the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the complete cosmic manifestation, cannot be a human being. Yet there are many foolish men who consider Krishna to be merely a powerful man and nothing more. Actually, he is the original Supreme Personality, as is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Paramakrishna. He is the Supreme Lord. There are many.
Just a minute. Like if you see the way Google works and all, many people may say, "Oh, Google works like a god." But when even though they hear from Shastra all these things, but still they are not ready to accept Krishna as God. Because they are covered by the modes of material nature. Though logically also it makes sense, but still they don't accept it because of Dushkruti. Yeah, can continue.
There are many Ishvaras, controllers, and one appears greater than another. In the ordinary management of affairs in the material world, we find some official or director, and above him there is a secretary, and above him a minister, and above him a president. Each of them is controller. Each of them is a controller, but one is controlled by another. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that Krishna is the supreme controller. There are many controllers, undoubtedly, both in the material and spiritual world. But Krishna is the supreme controller, Ishvara Paramakrishna, and his body is Satchit Ananda, non-material.
Yeah, like Prabhupada is explaining what many of you must have attended the Discover Yourself. So if you even take an organization in the uh, in our nearby in our surrounding world, there is always one controller, and above him there is another controller, and ultimately there is one controller, like the CEO. If you take example of a software company, there is the CEO or the chairman. So similarly, for this universe also, there should be a supreme controller, and that from Shastra we come to know that is Krishna. Yeah.
Material bodies cannot perform the wonderful acts described in the previous verses. His body is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Although he is not a common man, the foolish deride him and consider him to be a man. His body is called here Manusin because he is acting just like a man, a friend of Arjuna's, a politician involved in the battle of Kurukshetra. In so many ways, he is acting just like an ordinary man, but actually his body is Satchit Ananda Vigraha, eternal bliss and knowledge, eternal bliss and knowledge absolute. This is confirmed in the Vedic language also. Satchit Ananda Rupaya Krishnaya. I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, who is the eternal blissful form of knowledge. Gopal Tapani Upanishad 1.1. There are other descriptions in the Vedic language also. Tam ekam Govindam. You are Govinda, the pleasure of the senses and the cows. Satchit Ananda Vigraham. And your form is transcendental, full of knowledge, bliss, and eternity. Gopal Tapani Upanishad 1.35.
Yeah. So uh, yeah, we can see now in the current time, the people with the latest technology and all, they are not able to control a forest fire, that too in the most advanced country in the world. So that's what, like Prabhupada said, it is impossible for a human body. Material bodies cannot perform these wonderful acts. Like, but Krishna can. The fire of annihilation at the universal devastation is billions of times, unlimited times more powerful than the fire. But Krishna controls it, and after the destruction, again Krishna creates. So Prabhupada is making the point that this cannot be a material personality. This has to be a spiritual personality. Yes, you can continue.
Yes. Despite the transcendental qualities of the Lord Krishna's body, its full bliss and knowledge, there are many so-called scholars and commentators of Bhagavad Gita who deride Krishna as an ordinary man. The scholar may be born an extraordinary man due to his previous good work, but this conception of Sri Krishna is due to a poor fund of knowledge. Therefore, he is called Mudha. For the foolish persons, for only foolish persons consider Krishna to be an ordinary human being. The foolish consider Krishna an ordinary human being because they do not know the confidential activities of the Supreme Lord and his different energies. They do not know that Krishna's body is a symbol of complete knowledge and bliss, that he is the proprietor of everything that be, and he can award liberation to anyone. Because they do not know that Krishna has so many transcendental qualifications, they deride him.
Okay. I'll can see one example of a contemporary scholar. Because of his pious karma, he's scholarly, but he derides Krishna in some way. So he's speaking wrong philosophy. Yes.
Krishna Avatara was considered as a complete avatara or a complete incarnation of God. The consciousness that we refer to as Krishna, if we have to be touched by this, we need Leela. Leela does not mean just dancing with somebody. You're willing to dance with death. You're willing to dance with life. very, very few human beings ever get to be placed in as complex situations as Krishna was placed. In one human being's life, going through the variety of situations that he went through is generally, it doesn't happen to most human beings. And in all these situations that he was faced with, the clarity of vision that he exhibited and the certainty about his ability to discern as to what is true and what is not true, the clarity that he brought to people around him, people began to experiencing like godlike.
Okay, thank you, Noor. Yes, now Prabhupada only explains them. So we see he's saying that means there are few human beings who also will experience like Krishna, who can also do like Krishna. And he's saying the people around Krishna considered him godlike. So, yeah. Okay, you can read Prabhupada's refutation only. Can continue.
Nor do they know that the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this material world is a manifestation of his
Of his internal energy.
internal energy. He is the master of the material energy, as has been explained in several places. Mama Maya Durattaya. He claims that the material energy, although very powerful, is under his control, and whoever surrenders unto him can get out of the control of this material energy. If a soul surrendered to Krishna can get out of the influence of the material energy, then how can the Supreme Lord, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the whole cosmic nature, have a material body like us? So this conception of Krishna is complete foolishness. Foolish persons, however, cannot conceive that the personality of Godhead Krishna, appearing just like an ordinary man, can be the controller of all the atoms and of the gigantic manifestation of the universal form. The biggest and the minutest are beyond their conception. So they cannot imagine that a form like that of a human being can simultaneously control the infinite and the minute. Actually, although he is controlling the infinite and the finite, he is apart from all this manifestation. It is clearly stated concerning his yoga art Aishwaram, Aishwaram, his inconceivable transcendental energy, that he can control the infinite and the finite simultaneously, and that he can remain aloof from them. Although the foolish cannot imagine how Krishna, who appears just like a human being, can control the infinite and the finite. Those who are pure devotees accept this, for they know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, they completely surrender unto him and engage in Krishna consciousness, devotional service of the Lord.
Yeah. So Prabhupada is making 2 points. Like those who are worshipping Krishna, they can themselves get rid of the material energy. They can free themselves from the influence of material energy. We see many devotees, many saints like Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, all these, like Srila Prabhupada and many others. Now, if they can free themselves from influence of material energy, why can't Krishna be freed him? Why cannot Krishna? So Krishna must be free from the influence of material energy. Then only he can free his devotees from the influence of material energy. So if Krishna comes under the influence of material energy, then he cannot free his devotees from the influence of material energy. So this implies Krishna must be free from the influence of material energy. So then it's not that implies that Krishna does not perform his pastimes, like he does not have previous karma and he's put into a particular body like the ordinary human beings. He descends into this material world by his own will, and he performs also his pastimes by his own will. So, like we saw in the video, it is not like Krishna is put into some situation. That is, as per his desire, he puts himself into some situation. Yeah. And like God means, by definition, God means he has inconceivable power. So, though being in a human form, God can perform superhuman activities like controlling this whole material creation and all. It's not even superhuman, it is beyond human. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Can continue. There are many.
There are many controversies between the impersonalist and the personalist about the Lord's appearance as a human being. But if we consult Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the authoritative text for understanding the science of Krishna, then we can understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah. Like the impersonalists are refers to the monists, like the Mayavadis, also called Advaitavadis, which we discussed in Ishopanishad long back. So they take some few sentences like Aham Brahmasmi. These things they take that these are the most important statements in the Vedic literature. So the author of Vedic literature did not say that. Just four statements they take, and all other injunctions of the Vedic literature they discard it as they are all secondary. So this itself is a speculation. So, but our Vaishnava acharyas, they consult the scriptures, like the whole scripture you have to study and then see what is the essence of the scripture. So that is how, if we see like that, then it is very clear that uh, that Krishna is the supreme Lord. Krishna is God. Yeah. Okay. You can
He
continue. He's
is not an ordinary man. Although he appeared on this earth as an ordinary human, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, when the sages headed by Shaunaka inquired about the activities of Krishna, they said, Kritavan kila karmani saha ramena keshava ati martyani bhagavan buddha kapata manusha. Lord Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with Balram, played like a human being, and so must he perform many superhuman acts. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.20. The Lord's appearance as a man bewilders the foolish. No human being could perform the wonderful acts that Krishna performed while he was present on this earth. When Krishna appeared before his father and mother, Vasudeva and Devaki, he appeared with the four hands, but after the prayers of the parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child. As stated in the Bhagavatam 10.3.46, Babuva Prakrita Shishu. He became just like an ordinary child, an ordinary human being. Now, here again, it is indicated that the Lord's appearance as an ordinary human being is one of the features of his transcendental body. In the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, also it is stated that Arjuna prayed to Krishna's form of four hands, Tenaiva Rupena Chaturbhujena. After revealing this form, Krishna, when petitioned by Arjuna, again assumed his original human-like form, Manusam Rupam. These different features of the Supreme Lord are certainly not those of an ordinary human being. Some of those who deride Krishna and who are infected with the Mayavadi philosophy quote the following verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam 3.29.21 to prove that Krishna is just an ordinary man. Aham sarveshu bhuteshu bhutatmavastita sada. The Supreme is present in every living entity.
yeah. So from this one can also say that Krishna is also Brahman, because Krishna is like a human being. So Brahman is present in Krishna. Like that, somebody may deduce. But Prabhupada refutes it. Yeah, you can continue.
We should better take note of this particular verse from the Vaishnava Acharyas like Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur instead of following the interpretation of unauthorized persons who deride Krishna. Jiv Goswami commented on this verse says that Krishna, in his plenary expansion as Paramatma, is situated in the moving and the non-moving entities as the super soul. So many neophyte devotees who simply gives his attention to the Archamurti, the form of the Supreme Lord in the temple, and does not respect other living entities, is uselessly worshipping the form of the Lord in the temple. There are three kinds of devotees of the Lord, and the neophyte is in the lowest stage. The neophyte devotee gives more attention to the deity in the temple than to other devotees. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur warns that this sort of mentality should be corrected. A devotee should see that because Krishna is present in everyone's heart as Paramatma, every body is the embodiment or the temple of the Supreme Lord. So, as one offers respect to the temple of the Lord, he should similarly properly respect each and everybody in which Paramatma dwells, in which the Paramatma dwells. Everyone should therefore be given proper respect and should not be neglected. There are also many impersonalists who deride temple worship. They say that since God is everywhere, why should one restrict himself to temple worship? But if God is everywhere, is he not in the temple or in the deity? Although the personalist and the impersonalist will fight with one another perpetually, a perfect devotee in Krishna consciousness knows that although Krishna is the Supreme Personality, he is all pervading, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Although his personal abode is Golok Vrindavan and he is always staying there by different manifestations of energy and by his plenary expansion, he is present everywhere in all parts of the material and spiritual creation.
Yeah. So Prabhupada is saying that like if you see the visitors of the temple, they they do a lot of they spend time with the deities, but they may get irritated if there is some facility not proper in the temple. They may shout at the devotees and all because they are only seeing Krishna restricted to the deity. They are not able to see devotees in relation to the Krishna. So this is also in some way a a similar mentality that they are not able to see Krishna in all other living entities. Of course, here the focus is more on seeing Krishna as a human being. Yeah, but this is also a misconception again. And there are some impersonalists who decide Manav Seva, Madhav Seva. But their thing is what? Brahman, when Brahman is incarnating both as the deity in the temple and also as the Jivatmas. So they bring both the deity and the Jivatmas or the incarnations of Lord at almost the same level. And they say you can worship Brahman through either of this, which is again, which is more or less like saying that the incarnations of Lord, the human-like incarnations of Lord are almost same as human beings. Means both are Brahman. So you can, if you worship either of the thing, it will be like worshipping Brahman. So that is again an offensive mentality, like what is described. Okay. Here in this verse, Tanumashrita means Krishna has a human-like form. It doesn't mean that Krishna takes shelter of a human body. Hmm? Like, so Krishna has a human-like form and performs human-like activities. Not the activities are similar to human activities, they are human-like. Okay. So you can take around 7 minutes and you can think of some characters from scriptures who insulted Krishna in this way, like considering him like a human being. And also then you can think of some common misconceptions prevalent about Krishna, like some particular pastimes of Krishna are considered mundane, and how we can logically explain that they are not mundane but they are spiritual. Okay, can take 7 minutes, then we'll discuss.
So he was proclaimed as an incarnation and a complete incarnation. If you, for those of you who are not familiar with this,
Okay, just a minute.
they talk about
Okay. Hmm. Okay, so for the first question, can who wants to answer?
Can I answer, Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna. Yes, Vaikundi Bhari Pro. Yes, you can answer.
Do you know that Shubha?
Pro, your sound is not proper. It's not clear.
I'm having, I'm having throat infection, Prabhuji.
Oh. Yeah, if you want to say, you can say.
I'm,
Otherwise, okay.
I was saying Duryodhan and
Okay. One
Shishupal.
Duryodhan. Okay. Fine. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much,
Yes,
Prabhuji.
anyone else? Yeah, okay, Shrikant Pro. Yes, Shrikant Pro, you want to say? No, we're not able to hear.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Am I audible?
Yeah.
I was saying, other than like Shishupal and Duryodhan, which was in negative term, the Brahma and Indra also they misunderstood Krishna as a human.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? I think we have covered majority. Okay, for second, someone wants to answer. For second question. Okay, Srimati Vasudha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, pranams Prabhu.
Hare
Prabhu,
Krishna.
first question, Jagai and Madai Prabhu.
Jaga and Madai. Yeah, you can say they have not derided, but they appreciated actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu singing, but they don't know that he's Supreme Lord. Yeah, you can say in some way. Okay.
For second question, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Krishna is very pure. He has 64 good qualities, but still he said lie to Yashodama. So when
Okay. Yeah, so how will we explain it?
one thing is because of pastime he made this. One more is Krishna tried to reveal his mother, his original form, but Yashoda in Vatsalya mood, he not recognized that.
Okay. Yeah, fine. No problem. Okay. Yes, that's fine. Okay. Anyone else? Some any other misconceptions? And many are there. Many are, yeah, some quite popular misconceptions. Okay, yes, Shrikant Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhuji, many like one is Ras Leela is something which is always talked in mundane sense normally, not among devotees, but yeah. Ras Leela, then is Makhan Chori, Vastraharan, or having 16,108 wives. So all these activities are bewildering for a non-devotee. For explanation, Prabhuji, I have mentioned that should explain first thing is we should understand what is the meaning of God. He lifted the Govardhan hill. Like if people want to imitate him, then they should imitate him completely. They should also lift the Govardhan hill on little finger for 7 days, 7 nights.
Okay.
And another thing is like explanation is he is God means we all are part and parcel of him. So we all belong to him. So actually we enjoying anything is a robbery or a crime. He enjoying it anything is actually the real thing.
Yes, this is a good logical point. Yes.
As a God, he can be with all the wives at the same time, pleasing everyone. We cannot please even one wife. So
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Anyone else? Yeah. Okay.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, like people outside, they have different misconceptions about Krishna. Like as Prabhuji told, na, Krishna stole butter. How can God steal? How can God lie? So like this, what are some other misconceptions and how we can refute them? Uh, okay, yes, Sharad
Oh,
Murari.
thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes, Puji. One more conception is that Krishna has came from Vishnu.
Mhm.
This confusion also many people has, but we
Mm.
can refute it by quoting Srimad Bhagavatam and some scriptures,
Okay,
as in Bhagavad Gita also in purport.
okay, okay. Yeah, that's okay. Of course, the main point here is about human. Krishna's activities are mundane or Krishna is mundane, but fine, that is also in some way misconception. Okay.
So one thing I wanted to mention that
Mm.
like last week we were in Udupi, right? There the sannyasis who worship the deities also they also mentioned the same thing in their class that Krishna is coming from Vishnu. So we were like,
Okay.
okay, we are so fortunate to know from Prabhupada.
Okay. Yeah, in their philosophy, it is like that. So, I mean, for them it is correct. For us, this is correct. So there is nothing wrong in that because they are supposed to increase their devotion. They wanted to worship the Lord in Vishnu form, in Narayan form. So their philosophy is given in that way. We want to worship Krishna, so our philosophy is given in this way. And both truths can exist also simultaneously. So yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Of course, another thing also we can say that Krishna's pastimes are performed in a pure way. It's not like Krishna has lust, like uh, which is somewhat is there in the human, in a boy girl human relationship in the human domain. So it's like the gopis want to reciprocate with Krishna in that mood, and Krishna reciprocated, allowed the gopis to worship him in that way. It's a purely an exchange of love, and again it is being performed at a spiritual level, and so all those things are also can be done. And again, the Traslila happened, they have not even reached puberty, all other things are also there. Okay. Now Krishna explains what happens to these people who have this kind of misunderstanding. Okay. Mogasha moga karmana moga jnana vichetasa
Moga sa moga karmano moga jnana vichetasa
rakshasim asurim chaiva prakritim mohinim shrita.
Rakshasim asurim chaiva prakritim mohinim srita.
The translation: those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demonic and atheistic views. In the deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. Yeah. If someone derides Krishna as a human being or his activities are human, what happens? Mogasha. This is especially concerning to the spiritualists, means those who are performing karma yoga, jnana yoga. When they deride Krishna, considering him as a human being, what happens to them? So mogasha. So their desires for liberation, it will not be fulfilled. Moga, like especially people performing jnana yoga, karma yoga, their focus is to get liberation. So that will not be fulfilled. Then moga karmana, like karma yoga, they perform many yajnas and all. But if they have this offensive attitude towards Krishna, their fruitive activities don't bear the actual fruit, which means they will not be purified from material desires, and ultimately they will not achieve liberation. So this karma, it will not become akarma. It will remain as karma. So even if they perform karma yoga, still they will get sinful reactions and pious reactions. and moga jnana. Their knowledge also will not bear fruit. Like if the jnana yogis have this misconception, we saw an example. So that will not also yield liberation and they'll remain confused. So what they'll remain? Vichetasaha. So they will remain confused. So their activities remain predominated by passion and ignorance like asuras and rakshasas. Here Krishna is not calling them as asuras and rakshasas, but their activities are similar to asuras and rakshasas. Like asuras activities are predominated by passion and rakshasas activities are predominated by ignorance. So the activities of karma yogis and jnana yogis who have this misunderstanding about Krishna and who insult Krishna in this way, their activities are also similar. And they are qualified to go to hell, which means basically what? Their spiritual activities will not be akama. Akama means there should not be neither pious reaction or sinful reaction. But because of this misunderstanding, they will incur sin and likely they may go to hell because of sinful reactions. Yeah, you can read the purport.
There are many devotees who assume themselves to be in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, but at heart do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as the absolute truth. For them, the fruit of devotional service going back to Godhead will never be tasted. Similarly, those who are engaged in fruitive, pious activities and who are ultimately hoping to be liberated from this material entanglement will never be successful either, because they deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. In other words, persons who mock Krishna are to be understood to be demonic and or atheistic. As described in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, such demonic miscreants never surrender to Krishna. Therefore, their mental speculations to arrive at the absolute truth bring them to the false conclusion that the ordinary living entity and Krishna are one and the same. With such a false conviction, they think that the body of any human being is now simply covered by material nature, and as soon as one is liberated from this material body, there is no difference between God and Himself. This attempt to become one with Krishna will be baffled because of delusion. Such atheistic and demonic cultivation of spiritual knowledge is always futile. That is the indication of this verse. For such persons, cultivation of knowledge in the Vedic literature, like the Vedanta Sutra and the Upanishad, is always baffled.
Yeah. So if you see uh, that yeah, this is the monist conception, or you can say Advaitavadi conception, that everything is Brahman. So the living entities are also Brahman, and the uh, incarnations of God like Krishna, Rama are also Brahman. So when the living entity becomes liberated, he also becomes a Brahman. So that is their misconception. Yeah.
It is a great offense, therefore, to consider Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to be an ordinary man. Those who do so are certainly deluded because they cannot understand the eternal form of Krishna. The Brihad Vishnu Smriti clearly states, Yo vetti bhautikam deham krishnasya paramatmanaha sa sarvasmad
Bahishkarya.
bahishkarya shrotasmarta vidhanata mukham tasyavaloka lokyapi sachelam snanamacharet. One who considers the body of Krishna to be material should be driven out of from all rituals and activities of the Shruti and the Smriti. And if one by chance sees his face, one should at once take bath in the Ganges to rid himself of infection. People jeer at Krishna because they are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their destiny is certainly to take birth after birth in the species of the atheistic and demonic life. Perpetually, their real knowledge will remain under delusion, and gradually they will regress to the darkest region of creation.
Yeah. So one thing we should properly understand this verse, what meaning is. So again, uh, here Krishna is not calling them as demons and asuras, but their activities are similar to demons and asuras because their activities are like activities in mode of passion and ignorance. So again, different people will have different degrees of misconception about Krishna. Uh, and this verse, that's what this verse does not imply that Krishna casts everyone to hell, whoever misunderstands him. Like there may be people also. There may be people who are very favorable for favorable to devotees, but they may have some misconception. Like I take guidance from a professor. He has PhD thesis on Advaita philosophy, but he's very favorable and he takes prasad and wishes Hare Krishna and all. So, and even at Prabhupada's times, many well-wishers who donated to for Juhu temple and all, they're very appreciative of Prabhupada and they respected Prabhupada like their own guru. But they did not, but they took initiation from another guru who is a Mayavadi philosopher, who is a Mayavadi. So Prabhupada did not tell them no, that you will go to hell and that. Prabhupada tried to engage them in Krishna service. And slowly they will eventually get purified whenever that happens by the grace of the Lord. Yeah. So generally who are punished are those who are adharmic, not wrong believers, but generally the wrong doers are punished. Yeah. Okay. So who worship Krishna now? Like the first two verses, the 11th and 12th verses talked about who don't worship Krishna, though Krishna is so glorious, which is talked from 4th to 10th verses. Why they still do not accept Krishna? So because they consider Krishna as a human being. Because Krishna's activities are like human activities, and Krishna's form is also like human-like form. So that's why they consider Krishna as a human being, and because of that, what happens to them? So they don't get successful in their spiritual life, and their activities become like material karma, and because of that, they may go to hell. Yeah. Now Krishna talks about who worship Krishna, and they are his pure devotees. So next two verses talks about them. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritimashrita
Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritimāśrita
bhajanti ananya manaso jnatva bhutadimavyayam.
bhajante ananyamanaso jnatva bhutadim.
Okay. O son of Pruta, those who are not deluded, the great souls are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. So, who are those Mahatmas? So, this is the definition given by Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan. Those whose mind is enlarged and deepened by faith in Krishna. So, here Atma, he's taking as mind. So, Mahatma means whose mind is enlarged and deepened by faith in Krishna. So, three qualities are described in the verse. So, first is understanding. What is the understanding? Gyatva bhutadimavyam and as well as daivim prakritimashita. So Krishna is eternal and source of all living entities. Avyayam is eternal and so bhutadim avyayam, bhutadim, all. For of all bhutas, Krishna is the source. So this understanding is very clear for a Mahatma. And that's based on Shastra and also eventually by realization. Then the activities. So the activities of a Mahatma is bhajanti ananya manaso. So with focused mind, he does bhajan and he does bhajan of only Krishna. And then eventually, by the grace of the Lord, his mind is purified and he's relishing Krishna. So then he becomes a Mahatma. So all three should be present. Then only he is a pure devotee. At least to some extent, for a practicing devotee, all may not be present fully, but all three should be there. Like an academic scholar can have understanding, but he may not do bhajan. An academic scholar may have more understanding of Krishna's pastimes also he may have. He may read our own Vaishnava Acharya's commentaries and he may have more understanding, but he may not have that inspiration to do bhajan. A monist, an Advaitavadi or Mayavadi, he may also even do bhajan externally, but his reasons are different. He may want liberation, or a Jnana Yogi also may do. But his desire is for liberation. And an Advaitavadi, because he has misconception, he will not be even purified. There will not be any result. He may do it as a form of Panchopasana and all. Because he cannot concentrate on Brahman, he is concentrating on a particular form of Brahman. But a pure devotee, he will have all three characteristics. Yeah. And here, understanding is there. So our understanding should be large and it should be also deep. Like we may know many pastimes, but intricately also we should know the details of the pastimes. So the different emotions involved, and these are all explained by our Acharya, so that the faith also becomes deep. Okay, I can read the purport.
In this verse, the description of Mahatma is clearly given. The first sign of Mahatma is that he is already situated in the divine nature. He is not under the control of material nature. And how is this effected? That is explained in the 7th chapter. One who surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, at once becomes freed from the control of material nature. That is the qualification. One can become free from the control of material nature as soon as he surrenders his soul to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the preliminary formula. Being marginal potency, as soon as the living entity is freed from the control of the material nature, he is put under the guidance of spiritual nature. The guidance of spiritual nature is called Daivi Prakriti, divine nature. So when one is promoted in that way by surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one attains to the stage of great soul, Mahatma. Mahatma does not divert his attention to anything outside Krishna because he knows perfectly well that Krishna is the original Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. There is no doubt about it. Such a Mahatma or a great soul through, develops through association with other Mahatmas, pure devotees. Pure devotees are not even attracted by Krishna's other features, such as the four-armed Mahavishnu. They are simply attracted by the two-armed form of Krishna. They are not attracted to other features of Krishna, nor are they concerned with any form of a demigod or of a human being. They meditate only upon Krishna in Krishna consciousness. They are always engaged in unswearing, swerving service of Lord in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, so they are always engaged in the Lord and in Krishna consciousness, which means they are Ananya Bhajan they are doing, and they are Mahatma, and their Atma is also focused in the Lord. So their consciousness is, Krishna is there even in their consciousness, not just their activities externally. Yeah. So the first stage is to develop understanding that happens through initial purification. Like today, Prabodhan Saraswati Maharaj also is saying initially a new devotee, he may not make out anything of a Bhagavatam class. They may start sleeping, they may just sleep in the class. But slowly they will appreciate Mahaprasad, and then they may appreciate devotees, and then they may want to do service. They will participate in Kirtan. So slowly they will get purified. Then slowly the understanding will sink in. That how Krishna is the Supreme Lord, all these things slowly sink in. Then they will understand the philosophy, and then they'll start developing faith. Then they will want to take initiation, and they want to perform bhajan. They want to chant properly. So then further one understands the philosophy. Then it's there how to chant offenselessly, all these things. Then one will slowly get purification of anarthas. And as one hears from pure devotees, slowly they will develop pure desire to only love Krishna. They want to develop a relationship with Krishna. So slowly they get more further purification. Then they becomes a Mahatma. Like by the grace of the Lord, then they become Mahatma. Yeah. Okay. Then in the next verse, Krishna explains the activities of this devotees. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha drudavrata
Tatatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridavratah.
namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate.
Namas Namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate.
In the translation, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Yeah, you can read the purport.
The Mahatma cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. His symptoms are described here. A Mahatma is always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. He has no other business. He is always engaged in glorification of the Lord. In other words, he is not an impersonalist. When the question of the glorification is there, one has to glorify the Supreme Lord, praising his holy name, his eternal form, his transcendental qualities, and his uncommon pastimes. One has to glorify all these things. Therefore, a Mahatma is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is attached to the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord, the Brahma Jyoti, is not described as Mahatma in the Bhagavad Gita. He is described in a different way in the next verse. The Mahatma is always engaged in different activities of devotional service as described in Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing and chanting about Vishnu, not a demigod or a human being. That is devotion. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. Remembering him. Such a Mahatma has firm determination to achieve at the ultimate end the association of the Supreme Lord in any one of the five transcendental rasas. To achieve that success, he engages all activities, mental, bodily, and vocal, everything in the service of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. That is called full Krishna consciousness. In devotional service, there are certain activities which are called determined, such as fasting on certain days, like the 11th day of the moon, Ekadashi, and the appearance day of the Lord. All these rules and regulations are offered by the great acharyas for those who are actually interested in getting admission into the association of Supreme Personality of Godhead in the transcendental world. The Mahatmas, great souls, strictly observe all these rules and regulations, and therefore they are sure to achieve the desired result. As described in the second verse of this chapter, not only is this devotional service easy, but it can be performed in happy mood. One does not need to undergo any severe penances and austerities. He can live this life in devotional service guided by an expert spiritual master and in any position, either as a householder or as a sannyasi or a brahmachari. In any position and anywhere in the world, he can perform this devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus become actually Mahatma, a great soul.
Yeah. So we saw here Prabhupada is referring to the second verse, Rajavidya Rajaguhyam, Susukam Kartam Avyayam. So there Prabhupada is referring to that verse. So we discussed in the last class how devotional service is happy in terms of no, we need not, we can practice devotional service in whatever position we are, and we need not renounce many things of what we are doing already. We have to connect it, and no, all these things are there. And yeah, like Prabhupada showed again how Mahatma means he's focused only on Krishna and he does not worship any other demigod or no, all that, yato mat tato pat, not like that. He's focused on worshipping only Krishna. Okay. And here namasyantas, yeah, here satatam kirtayantama yatantascha. So cha here refers to process other than kirtanam. So there are 9 processes. So our acharya say it refers to all other process also. The cha is referring to the other process other than kirtanam. And the namasyanta here means offering obeisances to the deities, always offering obeisances to the deities. And nitya yukta upasate, nitya yukta, sorry, nitya yukta upasate, which means the Mahatma worships with a desire to be united with Krishna in an eternal rasa. He worships with a desire to be eternally united with Krishna. So if there is no desire like this, then the bhajan will not bear the fruit, because what you want you will get. Somebody is mechanically chanting every day or no, so then that will not lead to that. So that's why one should have this desire also, and that comes when we hear from advanced devotees and when we study Bhagavatam. So then that desire also will come. So with that desire, when one does bhajan, then it will bear the fruit. Okay, so can take around 7 minutes. Can think of some examples from Shastra of devotees who are constantly engaged in devotional service, and also how to increase our determination in practicing devotional service. Yeah, maybe you can take 5 minutes and we'll discuss.
9 incarnations.
Yes, for the first question, example.
Can I answer, Prabhuji?
Yes, yes.
Prithu Maharaj.
Okay, yes. The Maharaj is engaged in Archana. Yes. Next.
Yudhishthir
Okay,
Maharaj
Amrita.
also. Maharaj.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Amrita Mataji.
Amrish Maharaj.
Yes. Amrish Maharaj is said to be engaged in all 9 processes of devotional service.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Yes, Srikant Prabhu.
Ji Haridas Thakur.
Okay. Yes, he is engaged in chanting the holy names. Yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Can I answer more, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Sukdev
Hi.
Goswami Parikshit Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj.
Yes. Very nice. Thank you. Shukdev Goswami is
Thank you.
engaged in Kirtanam, Lila and Guna Kirtanam especially, and also Rupa Kirtanam. And Prahlad Maharaj is engaged in offering prayers, Vandanam, and Parikshit Maharaj is engaged in Shravanam. Yes. Okay. How to, second question? Yes, Srikant Prabhu.
Ji, first is understanding bhakti is the goal of our life. It is not optional but mandatory. And what a rare opportunity we have that we have received it, and how much sacrifice our senior acharyas like Srila Prabhupada have taken to hand it over to us. This understanding can help us become determined, and then always currently associating with devotees and sincerely performing our sadhana. That will help us remaining determined in bhakti.
Yes. Thank you. We'll hear from others. Okay. Yes, Hemavarna Lalita Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, and pranams. First, by
Yes, Mataji.
hearing the Supreme Lord pastimes, Hare Krishna.
Yes.
By hearing the Supreme Lord pastimes, is especially his opulence, so we can develop firm faith in the path of devotional service. Second one is by hearing and studying Shastras from exalted Vaishnavas, our faith gets firmly deep rooted and inspires us to take in practice bhakti.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji. Very nice points.
Thank
Yes.
you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Let me write.
Prabhuji, can I answer?
Yes, Prabhu.
Following the footsteps of the devotees, those are already determined.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, all these are good points. Okay. Hearing. Hold on a second. This gives faith. It also gives inspiration.
Prabhuji, can I answer something more?
Yes. Yes, Prabhu.
We should develop the faith which comes by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So as we have more and more reciprocations from Guru and Krishna, then gradually what happens? We develop determinations. more determinations.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Okay. So one is the hearing from advanced devotees. It gives faith, inspiration, and also then also regular practice, like everyday chanting 16 rounds, hearing or reading. So this also helps. And one is to understanding the urgency, then studying Shastra. And as Prabhupada himself told, doing austerity, doing prescribed austerity. Now, this can be both pravritti as well as nivritti. Both will give determination. Like pravritti in terms of chanting more rounds on Ekadashi. So, if you chant more rounds, though we may not feel like, we will get some experience, and that experience, that will increase our determination and inspiration to do devotional service. Like Janmashtami, whole day engaging in devotional service. So, or if you go to some yatra, hearing Krishna Katha for long time, so that will give us that determination and conviction of what is being told in scripture, uh, uh, that is possible. We can experience it. Then that will give us more faith. And nivritti also sometimes, like like doing Nirjala Ekadashi, or minimizing our sense gratification needs. So if we are if we are eating too much opulent food items, then slowly we can reduce it, and we can see that our mind is more controlled, and we have less distractions. Let's say somebody is spending 2 hours on mobile on a daily basis. So if you make it 1 hour, so then we can see we are less distracted and we have more time for devotional service. So that also can help. Yeah, this way we can eventually increase our determination. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we will take the last verse for today, and then we will stop. Okay. ज्ञानयज्ञेन चाप्यन्ये यजन्तो माम् उपासते
ज्ञानयज्ञेन चाप्यन्ये यजन्तो मामुपासते
एकत्वेन पृथक्त्वेन बहुधा विश्वतो मुखम्.
एकत्वेन पृथक्त्वेन बहुधा विश्वतो मुखम्.
So now Krishna is describing those who are worshipping Krishna, but not in the through pure devotion. So earlier two verses are describing the pure devotees who are performing pure devotional service. Now Krishna is describing those who are Jnana Mishra Bhaktas. Means they are practicing Jnana also along with devotion. And in three types, Ekatvena, Prutaktwena, and Bahuda Vishwatomukha. So others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as one without a second, as diverse in many and in the universal form. So those who cannot perform pure devotional service, they may know about pure devotional service, but they are not inclined to perform it. So they do Jnana Mishra Bhakti. They worship Krishna through Jnana Mishra Bhakti. So they also do some reading Bhagavatam or some things like that. They may also do deity worship, but they also practice Jnana. So Ekatvena. So in three forms Krishna gave. The Ekatvena means so focusing on the non-difference between worshipper and God. So worshipper and God both are spiritual. So they are focusing on Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. So their conception is I am Brahman. It's not I become Brahman, but I am Brahman. And Lord is Parabrahman. So they are focusing on the oneness. I am spiritual and Lord is also spiritual. This is not Mayavad philosophy. Mayavad philosophy means I become God. But here the focus is Ekatvana means I am spiritual and God is also spiritual, like that. This is through Jnana, means they try to uh, read Upanishads and they try to focus on statements which focus on the oneness between Atma and Paramatma. Prutakttvena means focusing on the difference, which means Lord is spiritual and this body is material, or the word is material, demigods are material, like no neti, 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 like this kind of thing. This is material, Lord is spiritual, this is material, this is not Brahman, like that. That is Prutakttvena. And Bahuda Vishwatomukam, seeing everything as a part of universal form. This is Jnana approach. They try to do this intellectually, this all discrimination and all. Yeah. Can read the purport.
This verse is a summary of the previous verses. The Lord tells Arjuna that those who are purely in Krishna consciousness and do not know anything other than Krishna are called Mahatma. Yet there are other persons who are not exactly in the position of Mahatma, but who worship Krishna also in different ways. Some of them have already been described as the distressed, the financially destitute, and inquisitive, and those who are engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. But there are others who are still lower, and these are divided into three. He who worships himself as one with the Supreme Lord. Second, he who concocts some form of Supreme Lord and worships that. And third is he who accepts the universal form, the Vishwarupa of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worships that. Out of these three, the lowest, those who worship themselves as the Supreme Lord, thinking themselves to be monist, are the most predominant. Such people think themselves to be the Supreme Lord, and in this mentality, they worship themselves. This is also a type of God worship, for they can understand that they are not the material body, but they are actually spiritual soul. At least such a sense is prominent. Generally, the impersonalists worship the Supreme Lord in this way. The second class includes the worshippers or demigods, those who, by imagination, consider any form to be the form of Supreme Lord. And the third class includes those who cannot conceive of anything beyond manifestation of this material universe. They consider the universe to be the supreme organism and or entity and worship that. The universe is also a form of the Lord.
So, sir, three things. Yeah, it is said like the Ekatvena is better because they are focused on the spiritual things. The other two, they are focused on the material things. So that is little lower. Okay. Okay, so the next verses we will discuss. Next, there are four verses, which is an example of the Vishwato Bahuto Mukam, like seeing the Lord in the universe. Four examples Krishna gives. Then the next section starts. That next four verses we will see tomorrow. Okay, any questions on what we discussed till now? Okay, so today we saw in the first
Prabhuji, Hare
section.
Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Sorry to. I have a question to ask.
Hmm.
Is Lord, as you said, the Lord is inconceivable. So
Hmm.
Lord doesn't allow, like when we try to understand the Lord
Hmm.
doesn't allow us to understand Him, or He puts obstacles on that.
No, like it is also told, na, did that only by the mercy of the Lord we can understand Him. So Lord allows us to understand Him to the extent that is needed for our devotional service. Atapite deva padambujadvaya prashadalesha anugrati grahitayabhi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya mekopi chiram vichinan. So Lord also tells me that we should understand Him, but you cannot understand Lord fully.
Yes.
Sometimes when you try to understand something that is not needed actually for your devotional service, Lord may put some obstacle.
Okay.
Like that. Or sometimes you may not be purified to understand it. You may not be qualified. It may not be needed for your devotions at a particular level. So that question may remain. And after some time, after some purification, then you may get answer.
And Prabhuji, if we take the risk beyond our capacity to please Lord, Lord will help us?
Again, it depends. See why you are taking that risk. Now your desire may be pure, but you may not have that capacity. Suppose, let's
Yes.
say somebody wants to please Lord by earning 40 crores. They want to please. Means that is a risk. So earning 40 crores means they have to take many risks. But now
Yes.
that may not be good for their devotional service, and they may not be that much. That initial desire may be pure, but they may not have that purity so much. They may have some material desires. If they get 40 crores, that can become a distraction for them. So,
Okay.
so then it may not be there. See, more than we know ourselves, Krishna can know us. Krishna knows us better. So, so sometimes that may not be. So, Lord may not allow it. I mean,
And
that
one more,
way.
the last question, Prabhu. Last question. Fortunately, with some devotees, I came to Vrindavan on 6th December and got stuck up here due to the cold. So is this the Lord's plan or is this with my wish? I'm here in Vrindavan now.
Okay.
And
Okay. I understand. See, it all depends. Now you're able. See, being in Vrindavan also, somebody may be distracted, or no, somebody may be whimsical, and somebody staying in Pune, they may be very focused in their service and maybe very devotional and all.
yes,
So
right.
it is subjective. You cannot make something. So yeah.
Like
So
the
that
day
one.
on which
So
sorry,
you need
Prabhuji,
to see yourself. Yeah.
the day on which I tried, and fortunately, my visiting to Vrindavan is like 24 hours before it gets executed, and I'm sometimes very much confused about it. Why it happens with me only?
Yeah, so that's what. See, ultimately, the thing is to do devotional service. Now
Yes,
you're
I have.
being in Vrindavan, and that is helping you in your devotional service. You can consider it
Yes,
as arrangement of Lord. And
yes,
sometimes
Prabhuji.
being in Vrindavan, somebody may be distracted and all. So yeah.
Could
Okay.
intention on intention is only to do the devotional service only, Prabhuji. Here, could distribute books during this marathon in Vrindavan Dham and
Achha.
could preach also some people. And
Okay.
by the mercy of Vaishnava, Shri Hari Guru and
Okay.
Vaishnava.
Okay.
So, thank you very much, Prabhuji. Thank you,
Yes,
grateful to
yes,
you
yes.
for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very
Very
much.
nice. Okay.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll just revise. In the first section, we saw how the Lord is c- performing the activities of creating, maintaining, and destroying the universe. He is not attached, and he is doing it through Prakriti, and he is engaged in the activities of the spiritual world with his devotees. And though Lord is performing all these activities, still there are people who do not worship him. Why they don't worship him? Because they consider him to be a human being. Because Lord, the form is also human-like, and the activities are also human-like. So because of this, they cannot understand the spiritual significance, and they consider him material. That's why they don't worship the Lord. And because of it, they fail in their spiritual activities of Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga because of this misunderstanding, and they will not achieve that result. And their activities become like normal karma, like normal human beings, filled with passion and ignorance, and this may lead them to go to hell. So this is the effect of this misunderstanding. And then we saw who worship the Lord, which are pure devotees. They have the proper understanding, and their activities are fully focused on the Lord, and their mind is fully absorbed in the Lord. And further, they are always engaged in devotional service with determination that is described. And then in the next verse, there are people who worship, who don't perform pure devotional service, but they also worship Lord, and they also perform some other activities of jnana. Okay, so thank you very much for your kind attention and participation. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Vancha
sincerely grateful to you
Okay.
for your wonderful association.
Thank you, bro.